Hi there. Welcome to another edition of Deb Talks. I am here with the amazing
Lupe Castaneda
and Deb Owen. And today we wanted to touch bases a little bit about loan disclosures.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a question that's always asked. We get to the part where we're under contract and it's like, okay, you've already wrote the sales contract and what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And we give these to clients.
Then you get a bunch of scary documents to
Yes.
sign, right?
Yes, you do.
Yes.
And this is actually a conventional loan, so it's a pretty
It's a smaller
small
package compared to what it could be,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
But it's like, why do we have these? What are we doing with this? What does this all mean? I already gave you some of this information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when a client comes in, we already went over this with the pre-approval and all that is. They've given us all the documents, like their pay stubs, tax returns. Feels like they've even given us like a sample of their blood, right?
Sure. And we just
like
got
that.
started.
And we just got started. Yeah.
Yes.
Then they go under contract.
So yeah.
And like you said.
Yes. Once they go under contract, then we are legally obligated to give initial loan disclosures and estimates, and their initial ones, and believe it or not, during the term, during the process of closing on a home loan, different things are going to come up, and these were going to change ever so slightly. When we get home insurances, when we get taxes, that should be about the only thing that's really going to be changing on them. But we are required by law to go over so many other things with you.
Mm-hmm.
once you are under contract. And so we wanted to touch bases just a little bit about what that means. And they're called initial ones. You've heard me say that. Mm-hmm. Because at the very, very end, when you are signing your loan documents at the title company, in Idaho, we sign at the title company. Mm-hmm. You could sign in front of a notary also. We do that. But the title company, you're going to be signing them almost the exact same forms again.
Yeah. Yep.
But
they're going to look very familiar.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of go over I'm not going to go through every single one of them, mm-hmm. obviously, but we're going to go through a little bit of what these are. Your first thing is going to tell you what kind of loan type it is, if it's the FHA or the government, a conventional loan or a rural development. And per the loan type, there are requirements inside that loan type that we go over with you. So this first one's going to kind of show you, again, this is a conventional loan. So there's, believe it or not, minimal documentation here to go over. Mm-hmm. So it's going to go over with you what to expect inside this loan package. Then the over, obviously, your loan application is going to be inside there. And you've already gone over that with us, right? Mm-hmm. But we're just going to go back over that again for security reasons on these kind of things. We blank out social security numbers and different things. But this is the application that you would have provided to us. That's the official application. So we try to make sure that everything that you gave us is accurate on here. And then they've got, obviously, sorry, I don't know. I didn't think about
over to me.
Yeah, I didn't think about how this was going to go down. And inside there also, there's going to be some questions that are the government monitoring questions. And it doesn't matter if you're having a conventional loan or a government loan, they're required on everything to be filled out. And if you choose not to, which is fine, there is a box that says, I do not want to provide this information. Mm-hmm. So you just have to check that box. So we turn like a 2-3 page application into probably 10-15 pages time everything is printed off.
Yeah. So it can look pretty scary and pretty
right.
mundane. But.
Right. So, and that's your demographic information that's on there. We're required by law to collect those kind of things, obviously. So that's what's on your application. It's going to have lender information on there. It's going to tell you who your lender is. It's going to tell you who your title company rep is, because we've got the title, or we've got the purchase contract in at that point. So it's going to give you that kind of information on your application. And I'm still getting through the pages of the application.
Because we can take
So-
information from that purchase and sell contract now that has your closing date, and it has your company, your escrow company that you're going to be using, and then we transfer that into this, and then all of that will then be printed for you to be able to view and sign.
Right. Then I'm going to go back, and most of the time, thanks.
See, that takes away a big chunk of the document.
That took away our, yeah, it's just that application. How do you like that? And then we have what you might see as repeat forms from when we initially took your application to when we go under contract. We have to have a borrower's authorization signed again. And we do that because we've got our loan number now, and there's different things that during the loan process, typically what we hope at this point is all we're seeing is having to go get home insurance information. We do have to go back to your employer. Every lender will go back to your employer the day we fund your loan just to give verbal authorization that you are still working. So when you go into contract, you'll be signing that borrower's authorization information again. We're going to notify you that you would have received your credit score by law. Once we pull a hard credit, we are required to mail that out within a certain amount of days. So we will automatically mail that out to you, and then you are informed that that is coming in the mail. We can't stop that. There is no way to not mail that out. It is required by law to do so. The credit score or the credit report is not mailed, but you would get something that says this is what your scores look like on all three of the bureaus that we pulled.
Correct.
It does come in. It doesn't even come in your lender's name at all. And a lot of people think it's junk mail because it literally comes in just a plain white envelope with your name and stuff on it. But we can't stop that. We are required by law to provide that to you. So that information is going to be in your initial disclosures. Escrow accounts, we have discussed escrow accounts, taxes and insurance.
Taxes and insurance, yeah.
So we've got to, even though we've discussed it verbally, you've got to put in writing to us, sorry, it's a 2-page form, exactly how you want your escrow account handled, whether you want it in your loan, whether you want to keep it outside your loan, if you have the choice. Sometimes the loan type doesn't allow you to have the choice, and your down payment amount doesn't allow you to have the choice. But there's a form that says how we want to go ahead and do that. Here's some very important information inside loan disclosures. And if you are under contract and you have told your loan officer to lock the loan, you will be given notification that it has been locked. Sole and separate from your truth and lending. Oh my gosh. Tells you how old I am. From your loan estimate, right? From your loan estimate. That says we've locked the loan, or it says we're floating the loan. So that is going to be in your initial loan package also. Then loans are required to go to the IRS. Most loans are required to go to the IRS and get a copy of the tax transcripts.
Even though we got a copy of your tax return.
Or your W-2.
Or your W-2.
Right.
Yep. We still have to
There's
verify.
a lot of loans that are required to go directly to the IRS. So there's a form, and I'm not going to show you this one. It has somebody's social security number and everything on it, because we are then would take this information to the IRS, and we are going to ask them for a copy of your tax transcripts and or your W-2 transcripts, if that's what all we needed. And they will need to send that to us in order for us to close on your loan. So those are tax transcripts. Sorry, there's quite a few of those.
There's
too.
multiple copies.
Yes.
I think there's 2.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. So,
Signed 2. Yeah.
you know, got to sign some of those.
Yes.
And when you have more than one borrower on it, each one of you have to sign those too.
Correct.
So that's how come disclosures also can get pretty intense. Then there is the authorization to go to the Social Security office if we need to, if there's something that comes up during the process that it's like, hey, we need to verify that Social Security. Then there's a form, obviously, that, and again, I'm not going to show what that one is, but you will handwrite your Social Security number in there, or if it's eDocs, you'll put that in there, and that we have that ability to go to the Social Security office if during the processing piece of the loan, the underwriting and processing piece before we get to closing, if something shows up there, and they do,
They do.
there's some flags that might show up, then we would go and get that data in order for us to go ahead and close and verify your Social Security number, even if we had a Social Security card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes,
Everything-
you know, we need it. Sometimes we don't need the Social Security card. Sometimes we just go straight there. So there are some times that will happen. I'm just blowing through this, and you're not even talking.
Well, we're going through it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
All loans, we have to notify you that you have the legal right to receive a copy of your appraisal within 3 days of the appraisal being sent to the lender. So we will have you sign the form that yes, you do want it. If you do not, you can mark the box that says you do not want a copy of that. I don't know that I've ever had anybody say they don't want.
Yeah, I've never had
copy of their
anybody say that
report.
either.
And then we will obviously legally, and that's what these documents are, legally by law, we have 3 business days after the appraisal that comes in to get that information over to you, provide you also a copy of that. If not, this form says if we haven't done it, we have to mail that out to you. And then, and it says it right on the form, if we mail it, we're going with the assumption that it's taking 7 days for you to receive it via mail. And these are important time frames because there's certain things we as lenders that cannot do during these kind of time frames that are happening while we're processing a loan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know the last time I mailed one. People want them, and
Yeah.
we can actually digitally get that to you, and or you can come in and pick it up. We do have a lot of people wanting to come in and pick it up, but they usually come right in.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
And we're happy to provide you a copy.
Right.
Yeah.
But legally, we have either the 3 days to prove after we receive it, or 7 days if we have to mail something.
Correct.
Okay. Then there's just a privacy notice. Obviously, you know, every lender has third-party validation points during the loan.
Yeah.
Credit report is a third party. If we have to go to the tax service, we're using a third party. If we have to go to the Social Security office, we're using a third party. Credit report. Did I say credit
Use a
report?
credit report.
Employment verifications.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's third-party employment verifications. So anything we do that we have to validate anything else with, we use a third-party vendor. And we have a privacy notice. Most people do not want us to give them the authority to go ahead and use your information. So if the client has told us not to, then we'll mark that through. Again, I don't know anybody that wants us to sell their information.
Yeah. No, we do not sell their information.
But we don't.
Yeah.
And we mark the box and you guys sign that we're not going to be selling your information.
So when people get information after they close, because it happens, you're going to get inundated with a lot of documents or letters and things like that. And they look like they're coming from us, but it's not because we sold your information. We do not sell information. It's because they're able to obtain your information through other systems.
Right. As soon as we close the loan, it's a public record. The note information, the principal and interest, you know, the stuff that's, you know, financially is not public record, but the deed of trust is public record.
Yes.
And that says who the owners of the property are and when they bought it. So you're going to, and those companies scrub the public records to get that data. And you're going to start getting things like, oh, it's important. Your home warranty's about to expire. You've got to reach out to us. That's what they do. And that's not because lenders are selling that information. It's because those are companies that actually go out and scrub for that information that is a public record.
Yeah.
But
and they're hoping that you will look at that and panic and call them, and then they will obviously do what they do.
But during the process of the loan, the privacy is specifically for the third-party vendors that we have to use to process and finalize your loan.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. In Idaho, there's a specific form that talks about your legal right for counseling, homeownership counseling, and that can be before you close a loan or after you close your loan. It could be any time you want to, and this actually prints out to 5 or 6 pages because it shows you all the different counseling centers that you can reach out to in and around the state of Idaho, if you want to. Some loans require this to be done, and if that is a requirement of your loan, we're going to be talking to you about it anyways. But you do have the legal right at any time to reach out for homeownership counseling. So that's an Idaho form. We're required also in these disclosures to give our licensing information. And it does state where corporate's at, where we're at, and that we've met the state requirements to be a mortgage lender, a mortgage banker, because we are a mortgage banker, which means we continually take our education and the things that are required to keep our license active and open. So that's in the disclosure. Sorry, I'm going through this. If you have a government loan, what is going to be inside there is going to be specific government forms. It's going to be specific if you have VA, and there's some VA information that has to be done. One of them is like name of a nearest relative and phone number and stuff. Another one's a care letter if you have childcare and stuff. So there's some specific VA forms. Same thing with an FHA loan. If you are doing an FHA loan, you'll have in your disclosures, and that's why these packages are a little smaller when they're conventional.
Yes. Yeah.
But you'll have specific forms if it's a government loan that will be included inside here too. Okay, you'll have your identity of interest form if it's an FHA loan, and your lender will be able to explain to you exactly what it means.
Yes.
You can read it, but your lender will be able to explain also what that means. And rural development, same way. If you're doing a rural development loan, there's additional disclosures that are going to be inside there specific to the loan product that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm going to come to kind of the end of it here, I think. Am I going to be to the end of most disclosures?
Almost, yeah.
Oh, we talked about wire fraud. That sounds like I'm pushing it aside. I'm not. It's important. Wire fraud's rampant.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. You're going to actually, your title companies, our local title companies are going to talk to you about that too. Don't send a wire. I just tell all my clients, don't send a wire unless you've personally spoken to me. And I said, yes, this is how it's going to do. And then I will hand you the wiring instructions.
Yes.
Every lender can be a little different on that. But for the most part, we just want you to understand that that is also something, unfortunately, that's out there because we're opening that public record. And there's companies that search for that.
Yeah. They're looking for you.
Yep, they're looking for you.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it still happens periodically where somebody accidentally sends a wire out and there goes your money.
Yeah.
Because it goes into an offshore account. I don't know that.
Like,
I don't know that. Let's see. What other thing are we looking at? Oh, I'm going to get to the most important piece last.
yes.
So I'm pushing through these. Believe it or not, you're going to have a form that says, do you want to continue with this loan?
Yep.
So you do. And then it talks about undisclosed debt. Do not, during the processing piece of your loan, and I know you've heard it a million times, your agents are going to tell you, we're going to tell you, don't go open new debt of any kind during this time frame. Do not go rack up credit cards that you already have. We are going to be, every lender is required to pull a soft credit report just before we close your loan to make sure that has not happened.
Yeah.
So it's a disclosure that we have in our loan package. Maybe not every lender has that, but I know we have that.
Yeah.
And
go and look again.
And don't change job. We have a disclosure that says don't do this. Talk to your loan officer before you do anything.
Yeah.
So we do have, and that might be from lender to lender, but we do have that. And then of course, and I could have started with this, I guess. The most important thing, it's called a closing disclosure. It's called at this point, it's going to be your loan estimator, not your LE. So you've had those up to the point of going under contract. You could either have what's called an initial fees worksheet, and we've talked about that, or a loan estimator, and that's what legally comes with your contract and or your disclosures. And again, it's going to have the terms, it's going to have the loan type, it's going to have your interest rate, and that's why your lock form is so important, because if it's locked, your principal and interest is never going to change. If it's a 30-year lock, okay. It's going to have your estimated payment, which shows what your estimated home insurance is, your estimated property taxes are, because these are initial disclosures.
Yes.
So we're only estimating still at that point. It will have, lenders are required as soon as we get a contract that we go get what we call a fee sheet from the title company. And that can take a day, it could take 2 days. Most of the time they're really quick. But that will have a breakdown according to your specific loan, purchase price, property.
tax.
Right. So it's going to have a breakdown very specific to what the contract states for your fees involved with title, your fees involved with closing on that loan. Okay. So it's going to have that information on there. Once we get that fee sheet back, then we take that from the title company and put it onto our loan estimator that is associated with the home now that you're under contract. If it's a refi, it's the same way. We still have to go to the title company. We get their fee sheet exactly as we need to and disclose that.
Correct.
And those are things that should not be changing from the time we get that until the closing. And I say it that way because if the loan amount changes, it's going to change that. So if during the processing of the loan, there's some change in circumstances that happened, and most of the time at that point, it should be maybe the loan amount, you decided to put more down, maybe you decided to put less down, maybe the appraisal came in a little low, we've got to adjust pricing on that part. There are some buckets inside there that could change from your initial disclosures to your final. But anytime they do, you are also going to be notified, and another updated LE would go out at that point.
Yeah.
But your initial LE with your disclosures should very much almost mirror what your final should be. I know we pay really close attention to that.
Yeah. If there's ever a discrepancy, again, because we're still, maybe we don't have what your insurance is going to cost to the, to the T. We have an estimate.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So there could be little discrepancies here and there, but it
or
should
if you
be
did
very
choose
close.
not to lock the loan, and
as
it
well.
changed, that can change that.
Or your closing date changes as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So
If we move it up or we extend it out.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's one reason, well, that is a big reason why you've got your initial disclosures. And then at the very end, when you go into the title company and you sign on your final paperwork, those initials should mirror very much what your final is. Your loan officer, if not, would have gone over with you, what the changes were during the process of that. But it really is beneficial to pay attention to what is inside these disclosures. And you will sign them all again, not just the final numbers. You will sign all of this paperwork one more time, depending on the loan type, when we get to the closing table, because those will be your final, and nothing will change once you sign those.
So Debbie, we've got the disclosures. We've got the LEs as things start changing, numbers start changing. They start getting these loan estimator changes with alerts. Then they get the closing disclosure. How many days before the closing do they get that closing disclosure?
3 days. You have to have the closing disclosure a minimum of 3 days before you can legally sign on your loan. So,
and that closing disclosure should mirror those numbers there. Then
it should
be the ones that they will be seeing at the closing table.
Oh yes,
right.
Yes, your closing disclosure. So lenders can change that and not have to redisclose as long as they go down. But if they go up, you have to redisclose. That protects you. Because that should say, when I close on my home loan, this is exactly what everything looks like. This is exactly to the penny the money I need to bring in. This is exactly to the penny what my monthly payment's going to be. If it goes down, it's not required to show you that before you get to the closing table. If it goes up, it absolutely is required to make that change. And if that change is made, and believe it or not, it doesn't happen very often with us. I'm just going to say that because we pay very close attention. We want to make sure that insurance isn't going to change something, that, that there's something isn't out there that really is going to make it a big change. Every now and then that might happen, but you should be abreast of that right away. But you should be able to, if we have to redisclose that CD, we have to wait another 3 business days to sign. There is no waiving that. You cannot get around that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And Saturday counts, by the way, as a business day in that CD timeframe. A holiday will not, and a Sunday will not, but a Saturday will count in that.
Yeah.
But we cannot. So if we are to close a loan tomorrow, if we're required to close a loan tomorrow, we are not getting that CD, or your lender's not getting that CD signed until today. You will know who you close. Well, I say that, and I'm like, wait a minute, investment properties could be the.
Could be a different.
Yeah. But generally speaking, you're not going to be able to
go and sign.
Yeah.
Mhm.
because we have to wait that 3 days.
Yeah.
So really,
Yeah.
I know that was a really boring one because it's all about disclosures, but it's required to be signed. Anytime anything
anytime.
changes,
Mhm.
your initial loan disclosures, and this is one thing that's extremely hard for clients to understand, and I get it, I promise you. But if anything changes after we send that, we can update things. But those
Yes.
initial ones have to be signed.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
We can't proceed with loans without the initial ones being signed.
Mhm.
I've had clients say, oh, I want to add my middle name to it now, or I want to change my initials, whatever. That's fine. We can do that. The initial ones have to be done. We can make the changes, and you'll see that as we go along.
Yes. That's why you will
So-
get these updated loan estimator sheets that you'll need to sign. But yeah.
And we have time ticking things, for everything we do
Mhm.
that if it's not signed, we have to just keep pushing things that we have to do back.
Mhm.
Not that we're trying to rush anybody. We want everybody to have the right to, well, it's important. You have to know what you're signing.
Yes.
And we want everybody to have the time frame to look it over. But there's also a lot of steps that until those things are done, we can't proceed further with the loan. So
That's correct.
there's a lot of time sensitive stuff when you get into the processing piece, and that happens when you go under contract.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
So, in a nutshell,
In
that's
a
pretty
nutshell.
much what why we have these disclosures.
we get to
Yeah.
play with these all day long. We love it.
Oh, we love it. Yeah, we do.
Yes.
We do. Yeah.
But
Excellent.
if you have questions on this or anything else, just reach out to us. We're happy to help. Have a great day.